Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Those look interesting. Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Stataya, His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanamrita Bhaktivedanta Swami, Go Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anatakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Navacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasati, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Shri Gangamaya Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Jamuna Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 58, and this will be text 21. Nanyam patim vrine vira tamrite sri niketanam tushatame sabhagavan Mukundo Nata Samrasha Nanyam Patim Rine Vira Tamrite Sri Niketanam Tushyatam Me Sabhagavan Mukundo Nata Samshraya Nanyam Patim Rine Vira Tamrite Sri Niketanam Dusyatam Me Sabhagavan Mukundo Nata Samshraya Nanya Patim Vrine Vira Tam Nike Sri Niketanam Dashutam Nesha Bhagavan Mukundo Nata Samsraya Nanya Patim Vrine Vira Tamrite Sri Niketanam Tushatam Nesva Bhagavan Mukundo Nata Samsraya Nayam Patim Vrine Vira Tamrite Sri Niketanam Tushatam Mesa Bhagavan Mukundo Nata Samsraya Haribo. Welcome back. Na, no. Anyam, other. Patim, husband. Vrine, will I choose. Vira, O hero. Tam, him. Rite, except for. Sri, of the goddess of fortune. Niketanam, the abode. Tushatam, may please be satisfied. May, with me. Sa, he. Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord. Mukunda, Krishna. Anata, of those who have no master. Samshraya, the shelter. Translation: I will accept no husband other than him, the abode of the goddess of fortune. May that Mukunda, the Supreme Personality, the shelter of the helpless, be pleased with me. Please repeat. I will accept no husband other than him, the abode of the goddess of fortune. May that Mukunda, the Supreme Personality, the shelter of the helpless, be pleased with me. Purport by the servants of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The beautiful Kalindi here reveals some apprehension. She insists that she will not accept any husband except Lord Krishna, and she states that he is a shelter for those who have no other master. Since she will accept no other shelter, Krishna must give her shelter. Also, she says, Tushyatam Masa Bhagavan. May that Supreme Lord be pleased with me. This is her prayer. As Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out, although Kalindi is a young, helpless girl staying in a secluded place, she's not afraid. This staunch faith in and devotion for Lord Krishna is ideal Krishna consciousness, and Srimati Kalindi's desire will soon be fulfilled. Om Jnanatamandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yana Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Sunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bir Krishna Das Goswami Iti Namine Namaham Sanikashaya Prabhupada Kriyate Sudrida Sudinis Yamyam Tasha Bhakinuvadine. So we heard from the servants of Srila Prabhupada, and there are two purports from the Acharyas. The first one referred to herein is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who states, worrying, she spoke to negate any other person as her husband. Vishnu is the shelter of those without a master. Vishnu is the master of his devotees and their protector. With this faith I live alone, though just a young girl, and do not fear other men. And Jiva Goswami writes, Lakshmi always remains on his chest out of prema, or he gives shelter to even Lakshmi, who shelters wealth. Who would not accept him? Or he is the shelter of all wealth. This excluded others, such as Brahma and Shiva. O hero of Dharma, I do not desire anything else. But he is rarely achieved. But he will accept me because he is affectionate to the miserable. May he be pleased with me since he is endowed with all qualities like compassion, Bhagavan, and delivers everyone from suffering, Mukundaha. Moreover, he is a shelter for those with no other master. Or even though he is the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan, may he be pleased with me since he is a shelter of those with no master. Why do you have such determination for him? He will free me from misery by freeing me from other desires, Mukunda. Or he is Krishna, manifesting directly all unlimited powers, Bhagavan. Being the shelter of those with no master, he alone gives the best results even to the demons, giving them liberation, Mukundaha. He is thus better than the lords of Vaikuntha. The conversation between Yamaraj and Jamuna is also rejected as contradictory. Evam vadanti rajarshi rishyaya ke chananvita yatsva vacho virudyeta nunam tena smarantyuta. Such is the account given by some sages, O wise king, but those who speak in this illogical way are contradicting themselves, having forgotten their own previous statements. There are two forms of Jamuna. One is the direct form, who is the consort of the Lord, and the other is the shadow form, who is the wife of the ocean. The consort form stays in Dwarka. The shadow form was pulled by Balaram and then praised him. If this had been Krishna's eternal consort, it would mean a frightful afterlife for the Lord who appears to protect Dharma. So, we're hearing about, in this chapter, Krishna who marries 5 princesses or marries 5 wives, and seemingly he's just going around so far in a bit of a random fashion, and he's finding different prospective wives or persons who are desiring to have him as their husband. So they're fixated on him. And one thing I wanted to read also, to flesh this out a little bit more, was Prabhupada's thoughts on this whole little mini pastime, micro pastime. And this is chapter 58 of the Krishna book. So I'm just going to start from the point that Arjuna inquired, asking who she was. We are surprised to see you loitering here alone. What is your purpose in coming here? We can guess only that you were searching after a suitable husband. If you don't mind, you can disclose your purpose. I shall try to satisfy you. We can understand when there's, back in this point in time, when there's a young, beautiful woman loitering about or sort of going around unescorted, that it was assumed that she was looking for a husband. Arjuna felt, The beautiful girl was the river Jamuna personified. She replied, Sir, I am the daughter of the sun god, and I am now performing penance and austerity to have Lord Vishnu as my husband. I think he is the supreme person and just suitable to become my husband. I disclose my desire thus because you wanted to know it. Then she continued, My dear sir, I know that you are the hero Arjuna, so I may further say that I shall not accept anyone as my husband besides Lord Vishnu, because he is the only protector of all living entities and the bestower of liberation for all conditioned souls. I shall be thankful unto you if you pray to Lord Vishnu to be pleased with me. The girl Jamuna knew it well that Arjuna was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and that if he would pray, Krishna would never deny his request. To approach Krishna directly may sometimes be futile, but to approach Krishna through his devotee is sure to be successful. She further told Arjuna, My name is Kalindi, and I live within the waters of the Jamuna. my father was kind enough to construct a special house for me within the waters of the Jamuna, and I have vowed to remain in the water as long as I cannot find Lord Krishna. So she was very, very staunch with her determination to find Lord Krishna, even in so much as she had her father, who probably was trying, as fathers do, to marry their young girl at a suitable age, to marry them off to a suitable husband. And she was had taken it upon herself to have this austerity. She was living in a house under the Jamuna, in the water. And she had come out, for a little bit, of course, at the appropriate time where Krishna would see her, because that's how things work. And then instead of Krishna himself actually approaching her, which is not very proper, he sent Arjuna, which was his emissary, to find out her intentions, which he already knew. So in that regard, when a personality is sincerely determined and they really want to find, they really are seeking out Lord Krishna, we can see here from this example that Krishna helps, right? Krishna helps that person. Krishna helps the very eager bhakta. Krishna helps that person. In this case, he helped her express herself by sending Arjuna. And we'll see in the next couple of verses the result of that. Krishna scoops her up. As he's doing this chapter, he's just scooping up all these devotees who are very determinedly and doggedly trying to see Lord Krishna and be in Lord Krishna's association. And was thinking about, of course, we're thinking about, when I read the Srimad Bhagavatam, I think about what's the lesson for us, what's our lesson out of this pastime? Was Krishna just going around? Is he just sort of randomly picking out girls to marry, based on their desire? No, and, Arjuna acknowledged the fact that there was a very beautiful young woman, and, obviously she was a devata. She exclaimed, she's a daughter of the sun god, but still she was seeking, desiring, hope against hope, and just waiting and waiting patiently in this house under the river to see Lord Krishna. And for us, it's a very instructive lesson, because sometimes in our day-to-day lives, we may not be able to fully see or understand, or feels like maybe sometimes we can't really connect. It's hard to connect. Of course, we're always striving to connect through chanting of the holy names each day. But, if we're chanting Nama Abharad or Nama Bash, that clear-cut objective might be a little bit more vague, for chanting, particularly Nama Abharad. We're not really thinking, we don't have to be thinking about Krishna with Nama Abharad. We don't have to be concentrating on Krishna. And Nama Bash is, maybe sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, but generally it's thinking about everything else in our sphere, not necessarily so much about Krishna, unless, you're really, really determined, you're really trying. So, Shuddhanam is the answer for us. And, that's involves like this personality, Kalindi, some austerities. I don't think it was probably a very pleasant existence, living in a place under the river, seemingly secluded, waiting. You don't really know, if or when, the expected result will happen or the desired result will happen. So it's a little bit, of an anxious position to be in. And so that's also our position as bhaktas. We're trying our best to do the right thing based on what we know from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And of course, chanting the holy name, we're trying our best to do the right thing, but we're not really sure on a regular basis if we're gaining any traction or if there's some positive or wonderful result down the road. So to that end, actually, I want to just read a important verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, one that I actually meditate on daily because knowing my extremely fallen position, this is the best thing I can hope for. So this is in Canto 10, Chapter 14, and Text 8. Tate nukampam susamikshamano Bunjana irvatma kritam vipakam Ridvagva purbir vidadanamaste Jiveta yo mukti pade sadoibak. Translation: My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So guess what? This is the validation that what we're doing, we really, as long as we stay in this process, and just hang on for dear life, chanting all the while and remembering Krishna, he is sure to come and collect us, right? So Prabhupada's purport for this, I'd like to read. Srila Sridhar Swami explains in his commentary that just as the legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, one who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness, following the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, automatically becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the personality of Godhead. In other words, he will be promoted to the kingdom of God. So that's a very comforting outcome. That's a very comforting verse. It's quite a relief, to think about and meditate on that concept that although, we're here and maybe we're not doing the perfect things each day. I mean, there's no way we can, we have the 4 defects, including the tendency to commit mistakes. So, rather than beat ourselves up about it, each time. I mean, yeah, of course, you beat the mind with the shoe and wonder, why did I do that again? Why am I thinking this again? Or why is this happening again? You can, of course, fine-tune and hone your reactions or your emotions and all the things, but at the end of the day, as long as we're picking ourselves back up, getting back on the horse, and keep riding along in this bhakti yoga process, our destination is assured. And that's wonderful news for us because it's kind of rough here, I was reading particularly about the name Mukunda, which was actually, I was reflecting, was one of the first names of one of the first initiates. That's one of the first names Prabhupada gave to one of his first initiates. Nobody knew any of these names when he was giving names out to initiates. Some of the first initiates were Jamuna and Mukunda and Guru Das. So these concepts or these names were something he was putting out immediately for everybody to start digesting. And Mukunda is basically the giver of liberation. That's what Mukunda means. Muk is mukti, or liberation, and Kunda is reservoir. So he's sort of the reservoir of liberation, the giver of liberation, the liberator. And that's why she is referring him herein, because even though she's not saying it as much, she's obviously, not suffering, but she's looking for something more than she's got. And she's waiting for that equalizer. That's another sort of a Mukunda's, liberation, the great equalizer. Mukunda can actually, I've seen that as a translation. And I'm going to just read something that Prabhupada talks about with this name. He talks about it quite a lot in his lectures, because that's a very attractive concept, for us, or particularly for me, is liberation from this material bondage, right? That's what we're all kind of hoping, hankering, working toward. Even though Prabhupada said we shouldn't desire liberation necessarily, we should just desire to be in the service of Krishna birth after birth. Yes, that too. But, someday Krishna, again, will come and scoop us up like he's doing here with the 5 princesses. I think this is princess number 2 or 3. He's going to come and scoop us up and put us on his chariot and take us where we want to go, where we need to be. So this is Prabhupada. This is from a lecture in New York in 1966. So we are in so many ways indebted. Our obligations are there. But sarvatmana ya sharanam sharanyam gatu mukundam na rini na kinkara. The Bhagavata says, if someone fully surrenders under the supreme Mukunda. Mukunda means one who can offer you liberation from this material bondage. He is Mukunda. So if one surrenders fully unto Krishna, Krishna is Mukunda, then he is no longer any more indebted to all these obligations. He is immune. At one stroke, he becomes liquidated from all obligation. And in the Bhagavad Gita, you will find this statement confirmed in the last portion of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord says that aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshaya shishami. If you surrender unto me, sarva dharma parityajya mam ekam saranam vraja. The Lord says that you have to do nothing. You simply surrender unto me. Sarva dharman parityajya. You have got so many obligations. It is right, but it is impossible for you. Of course, there are systems how to liquidate your obligations, but especially in this age, who is going to satisfy the demigods? Who is going to satisfy the forefathers? Who is going to satisfy the so many obligation with ordinary living being? Nobody is going. But if you don't satisfy your indebtedness, then there will be reaction. But if you surrender under the Supreme Lord, you will be protected from all reaction. Therefore, it is very easy. By one installment, we become free from all obligation. So what's Prabhupada talking about here? He's talking about just simply surrendering. That's it. It seems like it's very difficult to do, particularly when we meet people out and they're very, maybe jaded or, ignorant to obviously a higher power, higher authority. And that's not even an option, surrender is not even an option. We've talked so many times about how surrender has this kind of negative connotation, It seems like weakness, or it seems like you've been defeated. I mean, yes, we're defeated. We're defeated by the beauty of Krishna. We're defeated by the idea of getting out of this material. Further, in another purport, Prabhupada calls the material world a rotten place. We have to get out of this rotten place. And who wouldn't surrender to get out of this rotten place? It reminds me, when a fisherman is throwing out a net, his intention is to catch fish. But sometimes when somebody's fishing and they catch something, if a fisherman, catches like a shark and he doesn't want it, but the shark's still wriggling, because he thinks he's caught. He's still moving about. He's struggling and he's anxious and all the things. That's like, like humans. I mean, maybe the devotees go out, they throw this net. I see that on Harinam. I was explaining to somebody how interesting it is. For a little while, the other day we were at Harinam, and I had to wait in the car while the person next to me was loading their child into the car seat, which takes like 10 minutes for some people. And I was watching people, just different random people walking around, and you could clearly hear the Harinam. And sometimes the people would, everybody could hear, because you could see, if somebody hears a noise or a sound that they're not used to, they turn toward it and they're trying to figure it out. So everybody heard it because you could see that register on their face, but only very, very few actually switched in their brain, and then they were watching and they were actually a little bit interested, somewhat invested. Everybody else, they heard it, but then they just kept, going about whatever their business was, walking into the store or with their family or whatever. So the best hope, really, I was seeing on Harinam is for the children, because the children on Harinam, the kids, they're like a blank slate, and they don't have filters on, and they don't really have much on their minds. So when they see the devotees, they hear the Harinam, they're immediately, most of the time, like a magnet. They're just right for it, and they're ready. At that age, they'd probably surrender right away if given proper facility, But for most people, it's very difficult, this surrender process. It's such a foreign concept, I mean, in Krishna consciousness, with the Bhakti Yoga process, there's a lot of impositions that most people are not really that used to. But if they're kind of really seeking, they're really searching, then it seems like they tend to, let down their guard a little bit when something moves them. And Prabhupada gave us so many things, apart from obviously the main, which is chanting the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Apart from that great boon, which I'll admit, apart from the books, was really the only thing. I never even personally saw a devotee, or met a devotee for several years after getting that boon of a book and the Mahamantra, So that was a little later, but now, with devotees and giving out so much prasadam, and obviously, book distribution being handed by a devotee, just so many things, the transcendental sound vibrations of different sorts, the kirtan particularly, people are attracted by the kirtan. Some person who apparently has heard the Mahamantra before came up and threw $20 in the little mini hundi and was saying how wonderful that particular rendition of the Mahamantra was. So they've heard it before. So little by little, for some people, if they're accepting of it, it's chipping away. It's like chipping away a little bit, chipping away. And until we get to the level of Kalindi, who just, she, obviously there was some austerity there. She was just waiting in a house, and, she didn't know, and sometimes she'd go out and hope for the best, waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for Krishna. Who knows how long she waited, who knows? So that's the best we can hope for, is to just keep chipping away both at ourselves and with others, to facilitate that level of surrender, that we can just simply wait, not feel like we have to go do all the things that everybody else does, not feel like we have to, just keep chewing the chewed, right? Just chewing the chewed, which is what everybody out there is kind of doing at this point. And, you can hear it. Everybody's talking about, here we are again, another holiday. And statistically, holidays are, a time for people when they're the most depressed because they have such an expectation of something. We've been, spoon-fed all of our lives, at least those of us in the West, to, think Christmas is this wonderful, grandiose event, and Santa's going to fulfill all of our desires and, everything. And it's just like this whole phantasmagoria. So people get depressed, and they kind of, they're definitely in need. Even I see like the ringing bell of the Salvation Army outside of the store. People are a little bit less enthusiastic for kirtan, for that even. Just somebody sitting out, because you see it every year. It's some nostalgia. You see it every year. Some person sitting and ringing a bell. There's something Christmassy. They're just grasping for something to fulfill that hope and desire, that expectation that they had about Christmas. It's quite sad, and actually, if you go out, you go to these places and see everybody, and they're trying to fill the void with stuff and toys and things and hams and whatever they're filling the void with, you can actually feel and see the despair. I mean, it's on everybody's faces. Everybody looks so miserable, actually. They do. They look so miserable. But, we have this very joyfully performed process, this very wonderful process of chanting and dancing and feasting. And, sometimes we can induce others to do that. We have to always keep trying to do that because, as long as we, like Prabhupada says, as long as we stay in it, we're in it to win it, as long as we stay in it, no matter what, just keep holding on. Just like white on rice, it doesn't have to be anything you think about very much. It just has to be automatic. And some days are good and some days are bad. So just staying in it to win it, we'll have all auspiciousness. Mukunda will liberate us at some point. We've been assured. But in the meantime, we have to try our best to, grab a hold, gingerly grab somebody else and try to, pull them a little bit along the path, because honestly, we're in a very enviable position. We're at a very, sitting here listening to Bhagavatam, speaking Krishna Katha, chanting, doing all these things, having prasadam. That's like some matchless gift from the spiritual world, for sure, that hardly anybody gets. Hardly anybody, There's this initiative at the leadership level, management level, by 2035 to have 3% of the population of North America be kind of a practicing a devotee or some level devotee. And the baseline is they're chanting at least one round of the Maha Mantra each day, and they're attending at least 12 to 15 festivals or something at the temple, that many times a year, 12 to 15. So that many people, 3% of the population in North America. So do the math. That's many millions of people. That's actually a real goal that's trying to be enacted through so many ways. But there's a top level trying, or the top level mandates or attempts, but it starts with just one-on-one personal interaction, being a friend, giving them a Christmas cookie, trying to be kind, which nobody really gets, is that level of kindness. Try to be kind to others. And, then that way you'll give them Krishna, and they'll eventually surrender, maybe not in this life, but in some life, but they've got to be started and dragged along the path a little bit. So I'm sorry, I'll stop there. I don't think there's much. Yes. Yes. Ah. Yeah. Oh. Oh, how funny. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they're into the goals. They're into the goals. 335. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lofty goal, but you know what? It's well intentioned, and hopefully if we all do our little bit of a part, and there'll be mechanisms to allow us to plug in to actually move a little more. So oh yeah, that's funny. So all glories to Srila Prabhupada, who made all of this happen for everybody in the West and abroad, and everybody, all over the world. Prabhupada gave us all of these things. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, who's a little fraction of the Mukunda, who helps us along. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to Sri Sri Radha Golokananda.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Ako Vikamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Dipan Dikayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami 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 Govindam Adipurusham.
Page 57. Paramakaruna Aundvi Jana Nitai Gorachandra Paramakaruna Aundvi Jana Nitai Gorachandra Paramakaruna Paundrijana Nitai Gaurachandra Paramakaruna Paundrijana Nitai Chandra Sabhavatara Sharashiromane Kevalananda Kanda Sarashiramane Kevalananda Kanda Bajo Bajo Bai Chaitanya Nitai Surida Vishvasa Kori 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 Vishayacharya Sera Semajiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Vishayacharya Semajiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Deko Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Hemana Dayala Datta Eko Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Hemana Dayala Datta Deko Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Hemana Dayala Datta Deko Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai Hemona Dayala Datta Pashupake Jure Pashana Vidare Shuni Jaraguna Gata Pashupake Jure Pashana Vidare Shuni Jaraguna Nata Samsare Majia Rohili Puriya Sepade Nahila Washa 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 Apana Karama Bunjaya Samana Kohoye Lochana Dasa Apana Karama Bunjaya Samana Dasa Apana Karama Bunjaya Samana Kohoe Lochana Dasa Apana Karama Bunjaya Samana Kohoe Lochana Dasa Paramakaruna Paundrijana Nitai Gaurachandra Paramakaruna Paundrijana Nitai Gaurachandra Sabhavatara Sarashiramane Kevala Ananda Kanda Abhavatara Saro Shiramane Kevalananda Kanda Jaya Gornitai 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 Gornitai Haribo 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 Nitai Gor Haribo Nitai Gor Haribo 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 Nitai Gor Nitai Gor Haribo 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 Nitai Gor Haribo Nitai Gor Haribo 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 Nitai Gor Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda Golokananda Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Jaya Radha Kananda Radha Golokananda Radha Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jai Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gorni Tai ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki jai. The two lords, Nitai Gaura Chandra, Lord Nitai and Lord Chaitanya, are very merciful. They are the essence of all incarnations, and their specific significance is that prosecuting their way of self-realization is simply joyful, for they introduce chanting and dancing. My dear brother, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm conviction and faith. If one gives up sense gratification to be Krishna conscious by this process, one is sure to reach the desired goal. One simply has to chant, Hari, Hari, Hari Krishna, Hari, without any sense gratifying motive. My dear brother, just try and examine this. Within the three worlds, there is no one like Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda, because their merciful qualities are so great that they make even birds and beasts cry. What to speak of human beings? Even stone will melt at the chanting. My dear mind, you are entrapped in sense gratification and have no attraction for chanting Hare Krishna. Since you have no attraction for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, what can I say? I can simply think of my misfortune. Srila Lochan Das Thakur ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Chaito Darpana Marjanam, Vapanam, Shreya Kairavya Kavitaranam, Vidyavadu Jivanam, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, Pratipanam Purnamrita Swadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, Nam Namakari Bahuda Ija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishame Janina Nuraga Trinada Pi Sunichena Tarora Pi Suhishuna Amani Namana Dana Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadaram Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Rahoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishameva Vambudao Kripayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrashim Vachintaya Nainam Gladashu Daraya Varanam Gad Gadudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanamagraha Neba Vishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahena Me Ashlishyava Padamritam Panastumam Adarshanam Marma Hatakarotuva Yatatava Vidadatu Lampato Mat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love when I chant? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Shastika Ki Jai.